Okay, here we are in the garage. Half the garage is storage, just ends up being piled up with things. And then we clean it up twice a year, usually reorganize it, and then it gets piled up with more junk again. This is actually all clothing underneath there in boxes. The other half is my shop. Here we have a bunch of axes, all made by the same guy for me. Here's the start of one of those stands that I'm working on, wood sword stands. I, on this one, polished the steel, made the leather, stained the wood, wrapped the leather. It's got a belt frog on it here. This thing here, your belt would go through the loops here, and then this axe would just hang through the ring. This one here is a different style where the loops are leather. It's dusty. Everything's going to be covered in dust in here. I'm always sanding wood, so everything gets covered in dust. Your belt goes through the loop here, and these two hang off of it there. Over at the table, it's been about a month since the last time I cleaned in here, and I've worked on a few things since, so forgive the mess. Once it gets too messy, I'll clean it all down, so on it goes around and around. Another knife that I made, same guy made the blade for me. I made the whole handle for it. This is a denim and canvas that you impregnate with fiberglass resin. When it dries, it hardens, and it makes a great handle you can shape. It's a copper bolster, they call it, with a brass pin. Copper rivets through the handle. Leather sheath, also made by me. Two more knives where I made the handles all myself and the leather sheaths all myself. The wood is called hackberry, and it's got a lot of what they call spalting in it. Just that coloration that it gets, that funny effect. Crazy little look going to the shapes of these. These are knives that I would use for carving work. The other one, same idea. Let's see. Whole pile of stuff that I work on. This is some bullhorn. Scales, they call it, or slabs of different kinds of bullhorn that you use to make parts out of. Parts like this. On my bandsaw here, I've got a butt cap, they call it, which would be the back end of a knife handle. This is bullhorn in here, and an aluminum ring I made for it. So that'll fit on the back end of a knife. In the shop, on the big table, I made this table. I needed a big workspace. Whole bunch of things been worked on lately here, so you can see leather, stains, dyes, a bunch of hand tools out. Over here, that's a big box full of a large roll of leather. This is they sell these in the winter, Canadian Tire. It's actually supposed to just be a straight rectangle. You jam into ice on the ground to break up ice, say on your driveway or something, but I took it and sharpened it, cut the shape into it with an angle grinder and then sharpened it. So now I have a pole arm, they would call it. Thrusting and cutting weapon. You know, just in case. You never know when you're going to need one. This stand here, I made myself. If I bought one, it would have cost me probably over $100, but the hell with that, I'm going to make it. It's called a Tsukamaki stand. That Tsukamaki is Japanese for handle wrap. This is the stand you would use to wrap one of their Japanese style handles. Here's the cord you'd use. So you put the handle on this here, and it can lock itself in place, and then as you're wrapping, you can tuck the cord into these, and it holds it down tight so you can keep your pattern going while having your hands free to turn pieces. It's like a second set of hands. This is my newest thing that I've made. The blade, also made by the same guy who makes a lot of stuff for me. I drew the design and he made it for me. Big, huge, beastly leaf blade, they call that shape. And I put this giant handle on it. That's using quilted Canadian maple that I've lightly dyed and lacquered. Brass pins through the ends to hold it in place. The tang on this goes about this far down, actually to here. And then there's more pins across the rest of it. Leather wrapping that I did myself. This is actually a trailer hitch that I've reground and reshaped and modified to use as a pommel, the end of the sword. It's a counterweight to keep the balance better on a piece like that. Most swords will have a counterbalance to make it handle better. This is something. Here's some baby hands and feet of the girls. a box of stains and finishes. There's mineral oil. This is the key for carbon steel swords. You need something like this to lightly coat on the steel so that it doesn't rust on you. Here's more. This is my wood lathe. I love turning wood, so I have one of those too. A couple of small shelves I made. They hang on the wall whenever I get around to using them for something. Like I said, everything's going to be covered in a layer of dust. More. This leather I made, this handle I made, this scabbard I made, handle I made. The blades inside are what they call Damascus, or more correctly, pattern welded steel, where you take different kinds of steel. It's layered together when it's forged to get the different patterning from the different colors that the steel has in it. You can see here. Again, I buy the bare blade online and then make the rest myself. I made this whole scabbard. It's a poplar wood core. Poplar's a nice neutral wood that doesn't have a lot of acidity to it, so it won't damage the metal. Leather wrapped. Seam down the side. This is a chape that I've soldered. Not the cleanest solder, but it does a good job to protect the tip. The blade inside was made for me by, again, the same guy that makes a lot of my custom-made stuff. He's really good to me. I get good deals from him, and he does amazing work. This blade is actually shaped to mirror the one knife that I keep up on the sword rack. This is the sword version of it. So that's some of the stuff. And this is the shop that it gets made in.